Andrew, I had no idea how much having our own merch on Elite Sports would help us, but we're getting some support. So shout out my guy Shane from Elite Sports, really putting in the work for us. You can shop their full line of collection too. It's not just us, of course. I want to give some love to everything that they're doing. They've got college athletes signed to, promote their own stuff. Everybody wants to be somebody, right? My name's Jacob Rodriguez. My initials are JR. They can turn that into something that's really, really special. And that's why you shop with Elite Sports. You work with Elite Sports to get something really off the ground that you're really passionate about. Yeah, elitesports.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout.
Tired of winning the tailgate but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squarin' Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
Welcome, everybody, to the new Squarin' Around studio. I actually got new Wi-Fi too, so I wonder if this makes a difference in our quality of coverage of Texas State.
We will see. We'll see if it helps.
I could look like a Minecraft character for all I know right now.
I don't think you look pretty good on my screen. So
right. No, you look great too. Maybe we found the axes on which Earth spins, and we're connected. Wahpeton and San Antonio.
God help us, bro.
So normally we come onto this show with a lot of energy, and it's not just because of everything going on in my personal life.
Stop bringing up your fucking personal life.
This is a direct result of what happened on the field. And perhaps, Zim, I was talking to you about this earlier. Like, were we too pie in the sky on this team when we beat Baylor?
No.
Of course. Were we too pie on the sky when this team lost to UTSA and then went on like a 2-game run? Probably. Now, though,
I don't think so.
No?
I don't. I'm going to push back. I think that we have been the most level-headed podcast hosts on the network. And I'm reaching out all the way across the Dave Campbell's Football Podcast Network here. We are the only group who the highs have been high. And what have we said? Hey, 6-6. The lows have been kind of low. Losing to UTSA, the loss against Coastal Carolina, UL. Yeah, those aren't great. Those are bad. But what have we said the whole time? Level-headedness, calm, serenity, something new for me. So I'm here for it. I think we've been great. I'm pushing back on that.
Serenity now. Yeah. Holy shit. I didn't know TJ Finley was held to like 49 yards in the air.
Yes. Coastal Carolina
49 yards. Not great.
Is that where we want to start? I mean, there's different ways we can go here.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you're talking about a spread offense, right? I mean, the numbers, it's right there. Like we couldn't spread the ball.
And the frustrating part is that it wasn't as close as the score shows. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of those things that I think a couple years ago, Texas State fans would say, well, you look at the box score, it's not that bad. But TJ Finley didn't look like himself. We saw in the warm-ups, he had the ankle tap, the spatted cleat all the way up the leg with the one sleeve leg deal. And we both said, hey, is this like an injury or is this just a fashion statement? Might be an injury.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he took a couple shots, but that's part of playing quarterback, and yeah, he's good.
He looked bad throughout the game. He's still my guy. I still have him as the Sunbelt Player of the Year, even with the performance he had against Coastal Carolina. But boy, oh boy, was it bad. It was a stinker.
That was horrible. And then on the other side, shout out Ashley Vasco, Ethan Vasco's sister, the third-string quarterback out of Coastal Carolina who diced us up for 145 yards, 17-27, and 2 touchdowns with a gorilla tattooed on his arm, Zim.
Yeah, we had a good joke about that. He's going bananas.
That's what Ashley retweeted us. Shout out Ashley Vasco.
Shout out Ashley Vasco. If we're going to build friends, might as well build them over there with the sand chickens is what the rest of the East calls them. I like Coastal Carolina fans. I've always liked Coastal Carolina fans. I like they have a little bit of
respectful
attitude.
Online. This is one of the many weeks, or one week in a string of many where we were not added in some stupid thread online by the opposing team's fans to stir up some rivalry talk. And
I do get a kick out of that because I guess because we're like a fanalist podcast that we get tagged, but I never see the actual. I don't see Colton or Kef get like thrown under the bus. I don't see the actual like J journalists get thrown, but you and I, you, Mr. Moneybags over there, who's looking at everybody's pockets, and me, the blowhard, somehow we get pulled into this. So whatever. I think we've done, again, and pat ourselves on the back. We have not engaged. We have had good social media training. We're not going out in the trenches and trying to stir the pot on Elon Musk's internet.
This is good for Texas State whenever GJ Kenny loses, right? Texas State is protecting its own future bag operation every time GJ Kenny drops it back. So maybe this is GJ looking out for Texas State. What do you think about that?
So is this your spin? Is this the spin zone here, Doctor?
No. Yeah.
Okay. So I like where your head's at. I like the idea that GJ Kenny purposely losing games on the road so that
throwing games,
he will potentially stay in Texas. I'm curious. Mississippi State fans, shout out to you guys who did the laziest Photoshop job I've ever seen. I've seen some pretty lazy Photoshop jobs. Total show. Did you see this Photoshop where they took the GJ Kenny and throw us on here, producer Jake?
No.
They have the photo of GJ in a black pullover.
That's your ex-girlfriend's name.
I know, a little Freudian slip. But they put GJ in the black pullover. They literally just take the Super Cat off and put the MS logo on, and then they call it a day. It's like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? They didn't even change the hat. So whatever. I shout out to them. I'm glad that their Photoshop works. They weren't doing a whole lot over there. But okay.
Mississippi.
Losing this game, do you think that keeps GJ Kenny here? I don't know. I think that's just a bad loss.
I don't think he was going anywhere after year one. If you said, oh my God, after the Baylor win, well, now we've had time after the Baylor win to process how fucking dog shit Baylor is as an institution and athletics department, maybe. And, maybe our first Power 5 win was definitely a gimme, which appreciate it. But,
I don't like that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
It's grown into that, though. Like, like that just kind of is what it is. Where are they set in the fucking Big 12 right now? They're like bottom of the barrel.
Close to the bottom. Yeah, Kansas has been good. K-State's been good. Iowa State, so. Yeah, I mean, they're close to the bottom if you take away the additions of UCF, Cincinnati, and BYU. Yeah, they're the bottom. Worst team in Texas by far. Well, worst Power 5 team in Texas by far. This is interesting. I don't like to think that was a gimme game. I like to think that was just the first roll of the snowball that has now caressed into a potential job opening in Waco.
And it doesn't. I guess it's not completely right Baylor's fault that they're so dog shit now, right? Like, because how many losses do you think you need as a team to like completely lose faith and just kind of stop trying, or like.
As Texas State teams of the past,
I think it's like 5 or 6. Where you start seeing the bowl win total, like the door closing on you. You realize you're not going to do anything in December.
When you have like 3 wins and conference play is like halfway over. Yeah, I hear that. I don't know. I'm not giving them any credit for that though. Look, I think it's more indicative of the 4 losses that Texas State has. You go through those 4 losses. UTSA, a team that played and won their conference last year. You go to UL, a reigning powerhouse team in the conference. You think about Troy, the defending conference champion, and then you think about Coastal Carolina, who won the conference a couple years ago. So these aren't losses to ULM or Arkansas State or anything like that. These are essentially good losses, but they're bad losses across the board, because especially with the Coastal and the UL loss, where I can look back and I can say, those could have been wins or should have been wins if the team plays to their standard. You look at it that way, okay, you can be disappointed as a fan, but I think Texas State's right where we kind of thought they were going to be. A good win against Southern, a solid win against Baylor. I mean, I don't know how much more you can ask in year one.
I guess that's the thing, is because you can always be like, well, non-conference wins don't mean anything, or non-conference wins mean everything, or non-conference losses mean nothing. But what always will hurt you is Sunbelt losses, which is what we're talking about recently,
Yeah. Look, and if you said to me, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. You lose the Southern game, so you're a 5-loss team, but you win against UTSA. Would you like it more? Would the season be more of a success? I don't think so. I think what Texas State has done to this
Maybe
point.
earlier on we secure more donations or something, or everybody's like really jazzed in, and we set an attendance record for that first home game against Jackson State where we scored. We go on a 3-game run. You're setting up a 3-game run, and for us to just get body slammed by Nevada the next week, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this. I would, and look, I am the biggest UTSA hater on the planet. Like, I'm the same as you. I'm the same as everybody else who wants Texas State to beat UTSA and everything. Mm-hmm. But if you said to me, we take the Southern loss off and we put the UTSA win on, I like having that win. I like Southern winning that game at home, jumping the river. I like where the season's at this point. Now, I would have liked us to beat Coastal, and I think we should have. If you want to talk about play calling, what the hell are we doing?
The entire second half?
The entire Texas State went to halftime and did not change. It didn't feel like they changed anything in the second half.
Player 2 has left the game, brother.
Yes.
I mean, I was on the phone with you the entire time. We had a FaceTime call for about 4 hours. I ran through one entire portable charger on that call. And it was just like the Manning cast. Maybe eventually we'll do that on our YouTube channel. But
and when you go through, like, okay, so we take TJ out, whether he's hurt or not, nobody's still up in the air. And we'll see, honestly, this weekend, because if he is hurt, he probably won't play against Arkansas State. But he doesn't come in. He doesn't play most of the second half. Malik Hornsby does. And we don't use him in any type of way that's unique. It was more just a running quarterback. And maybe that's the game call. Maybe that's like what Leftwich was calling. But I don't think it was. I think he was just kind of a little deer in the headlights a little bit. And he did lead a couple scoring drives, but it wasn't enough.
Well, because you have to think, right, coming into the end, I mean, within 2 minutes, it was still kind of our game to lose, because right, like
2 minutes?
Mac, maybe not 2 minutes, but maybe
the
last quarter. Yeah. That gives me a little bit more time to justify this take. But I was really frustrated, honestly, because I was like, well, Malik even said, like, I'm only here because I want to show everybody how good my arm is. I have never seen this guy throw a football, pretty much. He threw for like 32 yards the whole day.
You don't have enough film to justify playing quarterback at this point if you're Malik Hornsby. He's done a very good job running option. If Texas State wants to become an option team with the amount of running backs that we have in the future, that is something that I think is 100% on the table. But to this point, he hasn't thrown the ball enough for me to know. So, I agree.
I think after this game, honestly, for me in my own eye, like Texas State just gets a bigger question mark next to it now. Because, like, what is this team? Like, how do you have like
chalk it up to
roaring success one week, and then like you call like a complete opposite style game plan the second week, and then it's like, wait, this is you could have mirrored both game plans. I think Southern and Coastal, right? Maybe. You really didn't know what you were going to get out of the quarterbacks.
Yes and no. I would say this. I would say that the loss to Coastal Carolina is indeed disappointing. You should be disappointed in that loss if you're Texas State. However, the weather was bad. It was raining early.
The weather outside was frightful.
TJ Finley did not look like himself. He looked like a shell of himself. It looked like maybe 50% of what he usually is. All of that plays into the fact. And also, Coastal Carolina's defense was a lot better. I think it was a lot better than people gave it credit for. It was a lot better than what we saw. They did a good job shutting down the run. Like we didn't really be able to establish any sort of unique run game. And at the end of the day, we paid for it. Now you look at the rest of the schedule here. Arkansas State and South Alabama, those are 2 winnable games. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we could win out and potentially have 9 wins. Well, that's not going to happen. But 8 wins is still very much in the cards. But Texas State has to put the hay in the barn. They got to get the job done this weekend.
Still at least 7 wins, right? I mean, what do you think? You want to give this team a win already? Or
I do. I want them to go to Jonesboro.
I want to say, oh yeah, easy peasy, Jonesboro, easy dubs. But because of the way this team traveled last week, and then depending on whether or not the health of TJ Finley,
well, like I'll put this the way they've traveled all season. Texas State, not historically a home team. Historically, Texas State has shown better performances, at least in recent memory, on the road because they just didn't have a home crowd.
Yeah,
the fact is that they are having a better
and, like upset them. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from?
100%. The fact that they have an actual home crowd now in San Marcos does play a part in this team's success. And it has been something that all of us have thought for a while, that if they had fans, like it might have a spark. And it's proven to be true that when there's fans in the stands, this team plays better. When they go on the road, for whatever reason, they don't play to their level.
Yeah. It's tough to see, because you're like, well, why can't we just be consistent or like win the games we should? Maybe, I don't know. In my head, I thought we totally should have wrapped up Coastal. Like we should be a 7-win team right now.
Yes. If you would have told me before the season that we were going to beat Coastal, I would have said, I don't know about that one. But no Grayson McCall, with the way this team is playing, that should have been a win last week. And now the question is, going to Jonesboro against the Fighting Butch Joneses, what do you expect?
A guy with nothing to lose, coaching for his job,
A guy who 100%. Now, granted, Arkansas State, not the type of fan base is going to cut a check. This isn't Texas A&M. They're not going to pay out their coach to leave. Mm-hmm. But it is very much, you might not get a contract extension. In fact, you might not get an analyst job at some of these other places for how bad of a job he has done at Arkansas State. They still have a freshman quarterback. This team is still bottom of the barrel in the conference. You should be able to go to Jonesboro this weekend and get a win. That's period, end of story. And let me add one more thing. Mahdi against Coastal, bad game.
Yeah. 18 was his longest.
Find a way.
97 for the day. 18 was his longest. But I don't know. Do you count that as is that like a possession thing? Like if he had more possessions, more touches, Texas State stays on the field longer, he does have a better day. But every time
you don't go down by 2 scores.
Every time the quarterback took a snap, it seemed like we couldn't get anything going. And another thing about Texas State's offense, I guess, is that, right, we have 2 very different quarterbacks. I guess 3 or 4, depending on if you want to rope in.
No, we have 2. We have 2 different quarterbacks.
But TJ Finley, right, widely regarded as a pocket passer. I've said it before. If anybody gets into the pocket, his speed rating goes all the way down on Madden. But like Malik Hornsby, right? Very well known as a dual threat guy. When Texas State signed him, everybody was like, wow, we're going to see really crazy offense. And why the fuck is TJ taking in touchdowns? If there's I don't know, there's one tool to use and it's not TJ. And then separately, if Malik isn't the one that's supposed to be throwing the balls, why is he? I don't know.
Yeah. And, I don't. Do you want to talk about the play calling when it comes to trying to go for 4th downs on the other side of the field?
Yeah, that was weird. But I guess I wanted to see them take shots, and they did.
I liked that we were aggressive on their side of the 50. I would have liked to get some points out of it, though. Mm-hmm. When you look at the final score and you think to yourself, well, we could have taken 3 points here or there. Maybe it's a different ball game. But hindsight 2020. Leftwich makes a bunch of the assistant of the year lists, watch lists now, because they're starting to put those out. What do you make of that?
Very good.
And is it deserving?
You do think he deserves it?
Well, no, I'm asking you, is it deserving?
I think he deserves it for sure. I don't know. Well, because anything for Texas State is good. No, being on these watch lists and stuff. It would be different if we were a 4-win team. Then you'd be like, how the hell did we got on this list? Well, we're a very successful team. We're 6-4. We got the world still, in our oyster. When you lose 5 games, we drop against Arkansas State, people are going to be like, hey, maybe he's a finalist, but he does not win the award,
I agree. I think that him being on the list is important. I think it's good for the program. I do think he deserves it. I would like a little bit more. Look, him and GJ are both geniuses. I don't know what has been the hold up here a couple weeks, but between the Troy game and now this game, there's times where it's okay, we need to be a little bit more conservative. We need to be a little less conservative. I think it's just them finding their rhythm as coaches, and with this at this level. I'm not saying that this is SEC primetime games they're playing in, but I think there is something to be said for a 6-win team trying to get their 7th win in the Sun Belt. It's a different ball game. It's a different ball game.
It's such any given Saturday feel to the Sun Belt, because all these teams really could whoop some ass, even ULM, right? They took so many guys very close, and it's oh, that was ULM. I didn't know that. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know how to feel. No fumbles for Texas State. That was nice to look at. Hey, look at that. Ball security, which is a big issue for us. Maybe it was just Coastal's defense is sleepy good, and they shut the shit
No,
down.
it's
Yeah.
they have
And
one
we
of the
didn't
better
know what to
defenses in
expect
the
from the
East.
offense, and they diced us up, and it went against our game plan. And I don't want to say being a producer is the same as being a college coach, but it's hard to see like a plan you created like burn in flames in front of you and then flip. But that's what you're supposed to do at halftime, and we failed to do it.
Bad halftime, no halftime adjustments.
Yeah, 0.
Jacob, Home Field Apparel has the most unique college athletic apparel across the board. And they just got bomber jackets, which are super cool. So if you're a fan of pretty much any SEC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12, Old Southwest Conference school, you are set. Now, they are lacking Texas State, but I promise you after our bowl win, there's no reason for them not to give us new BOCO merch. But until then, if you have a loved one or anybody else in your family, maybe you're doing a little early Christmas shopping, Home Field Apparel is your place. Use code SQUARE at checkout.
Looking ahead to our sad week.
Sad week.
The matchup predictor for ESPN, 60% Texas State, 39% the Red Wolves. I think Texas State should take this game. The odds should definitely be in our favor for this game. Are you afraid of the Red Wolves? How have they strung together 5 wins? What's up with that?
They threw a Hail Mary and they put a freshman quarterback in there. That's why. They just said that the way that the season was looking, it looked like they might go 0 wins. Oklahoma put an ungodly amount of points on them. They went with a freshman. It's worked out to this point. Butch Jones is again coaching for his livelihood at this point, and that's kind of what it's been, man. I don't put a lot of faith in this Arkansas State team. Maybe that is just the past talking, but I think for any Texas State fan coming into this game, there's a difference between being confident and being cocky. We can't come in cocky, but I think we should come into this game confident.
I like from Arkansas State, that guy on Twitter, Howl Razor. You know what I'm talking about? That he's like a beat reporter for whatever, but he just always makes so much noise about this team. And for me, right, like beat reporters, that's a really cool job to get into. But also, like, if your team just doesn't win like anything, what the hell are you doing? Like this team doesn't win shit. Like, really? Like across the board. Anything they participate in.
But here's the thing, and this is baby Jake not knowing the history. Arkansas State for a long time was
proud
the
program.
Cream of the crop. Was the cream of the crop in the Sun Belt football landscape. Yes. For like 2014, 2016, they were like the team to beat. And they played in a couple conference championships. They're not a program that has been bad for very long, but you got to remember that Blake Anderson was the head coach over there for a while. His wife passed away. He probably stayed a year longer than he should have. And the wheels completely fell off. They was rotating coaches. They'd have a new coach every year, and they kind of just kept the train on the tracks. And Butch Jones came in and thought the train was going to be on the tracks, and that was not the case. Train got derailed, and now he is trying to clean up the mess. God bless him. Again, Butch Jones, not a very good Sun Belt coach. I think historically we'll be looking back at him as one of the worst.
I want to go back to the only good take I've had this entire year, that like we're just one coaching cycle, one recruiting cycle away from being dog shit, everybody across the board. Which I guess, like, do we want to talk about the Jimbo thing? It doesn't affect us at all. But
it kind of does.
Just like how volatile, like specifically in Texas, the recruiting and then the coaching cycle world can be, because, I mean, GJ will not get that job, but a guy on his coaching tree, Jeff Traylor, we've been talking about it for years, should get that job.
No, I don't think so.
Get the hell out of our hair in San Antonio.
Well, yeah, that's wishful thinking, but no, I don't think he should get that job.
I'll give him a review. I'll give him a resume review.
I look at it this way. I say that the Jimbo firing affects Texas State in the ripples that you're talking about. Because if something happens and say Jeff Traylor does take that job, or takes the Baylor job, or takes the Mississippi State job, right? There's a bunch of different. Then that job opens up, and there's a guy on the Texas State staff who could potentially be the assistant coach of the year, who's assistant coach of the year finalist, who easily could be the guy that steps into those. And it's the brain drain that is going to get Texas State before it's GJ Kenny leaving. It will be talent leaving through the transfer portal or coaches leaving to other bigger jobs. That's going to get Texas State before any of these big name jobs get Texas State. That's my prediction.
And that has slowly been eating away at UTSA for years. But the problem is Jeff Traylor's done such an incredible job, like continuously investing in the people he does have and slightly getting more and more donor support, despite the student body voting against an athletic fee.
Do you know how embarrassing that was? Like, I would be embarrassed if I was Jeff Traylor and the student body. Like, I understand tuition's expensive, but Texas, let me just rephrase, San Antonio is a giant market. You know this as a producer. I can tell you from just like a person who's lived there. It's a giant market. And for them to beg for money, that's embarrassing. They should be embarrassed by that.
It's nuts. Yeah. Because it was only, I think it was a 3% or 4% raise of the whatever, right? So that's like $30 to $40 a semester, the way you break it down. You think about like all the service fees and stuff you paid in college, and for recent grads, like if you were a full-time student, you're paying like $90 or $120 or something like that for the rec. So that's like what I kind of keep in mind because I worked at the rec. But yeah, I don't know. There's just like a bunch of these like fees and stuff, and you'll pay like a fee for Texas State, right? The Texas State says all students can get in for free to home games. That's because you already paid for it. It's in your tuition.
And the opposite is Texas A&M, right? Texas A&M, they can't do that because there's only 100,000 seats in that stadium, and there's like something like 100,000 students in their campus, right? So they couldn't be like, oh yeah, you get free. So you have to buy a pass to go to all these games at A&M, and same in Texas. I like the way Texas State's set up. I think UTSA is set up the right way. But let me ask you this, Mr. Former editor, Mr. Homecoming King, Mr. It's Texas State here. Take us back 3-4 years.
Take it back to the 90s.
Basketball is coming off a Danny Casper scandal. Women's basketball is struggling. Men's baseball struggling. Softball's looking, well, not struggling, but new head coach.
Yeah.
Softball's
I think it was Trout's first year, like 3 years ago.
Trout's first year, yeah. Soccer, not really noticeable, right? Not getting in the conversation here. Volleyball, new coach, he was trying to find his footing.
When Zimmer was having the liquidation sale at Texas State.
Fire everybody, right?
Yeah.
Would have you, as a Texas State student, wanted a $40 extension on your service fees? 40 extra bucks. Would you have been like okay with it?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I think if you have that same vote that UTSA did at Texas State like a few years ago, it wouldn't have passed. If you do it this year, it would pass. Or like even like when baseball came off that run, I don't know, maybe a bunch of people don't really like baseball. I love Steve Trout. I would give him all my money right now if I could. Steve Trout, put your Venmo information in the comments down below. But no, I guess not. Because do you know how much like resistance those like student government like things get? And those don't even go anywhere. Like imagine something that like has like ability to make formative change on campus. Like you're talking about Texas State, the tradition of Texas State. We're talking about protests. We're talking about petitions. We're talking about sit-ins potentially. I'm gonna
push back. I'm gonna push back because I truly believe that Texas State has a die-hard enough fan base, like just student body fan base / people who just like sports. There's people who don't come to the games who fucking love sports, who go to the rec and play basketball, who have never been to a football game or a basketball game, who could care less about women's athletics, but boy, oh boy, do they love sports. They play 2K. And if you said to them, you pay 2 semesters of this, but everybody else has to pay, they're signing up. They're signing up for sure. So I think it might pass even in the darkest days of Texas State. That's my take. I think UTSA really shat the bed here.
Well, you got to think about like culturally, like what is Texas State versus UTSA? UTSA was invented by the government as a Hispanic serving institution. It was one of the first Hispanic serving institutions in the country to serve the Hispanic or Mexican population in San Antonio.
How many times are you going to say Hispanic in that sentence?
A lot. It's actually very impressive that they were part of that first like cohort. You got to give it up, because every year I think the Star does like an article on like what should be an HSI. I did that one year. So yeah, I don't know.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Hispanic people go to UTSA so they don't like football?
And then Texas State, like, what are we known for, man? Winning the tailgate, winning the, so like all of that like builds on to the student experience is what I'm trying to say. It's formatively built in, whereas UTSA is literally trying to catch up. Like the infrastructure is there at Texas State already.
There was a much more There's a much more concise way. This is shocking, Mr. Newspaper Man, with the word count here.
Yeah.
Much more concise way.
That's true.
Commuter campus versus live on campus. That is the difference. UTSA does not have an on-campus vibe. They have they're a commuter campus, whereas Texas State has finally broken the shackles of that. The majority, I imagine, or a large minority of the students who go to Texas State live in San Marcos. That is huge versus the amount of people who live anywhere close to the campus at UTSA. That is a big difference to me.
And you know what it is? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. We were complaining about it when we were in college. I've complained about it after college. But these student living developments that have popped up in San Marcos have what made this school what it is today, which I guess, thank you. Do I want to target downtown that ruins the skyline? No. But I guess at least it's cool that more people are living in San Marcos, because I lived and voted in San Marcos for like 5 years. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Let me ask you, if it came up where you could either pay $40 more to have better athletic facilities or better athletics, or pay $140 more to prevent developers to put on campus a semester, I would gladly sign up for the $140.
Yeah,
no more developments near campus. That's just me.
What's an interesting calculation is what $40 right now would mean on like the greater impact of your student loan overall. Like how much is that $40 that you paid for 4 years setting you back 20 years from now?
That's so true. And that's why it should be embarrassing. And for every Texas State fan, every Tom Madden, everybody else who gets on Twitter and just kind of chirps at UTSA fans, this to me is
a big
ultimate
win.
Trump card. No. Is that like your fan base doesn't even like your school. Like your fan base doesn't even like your athletics. Yeah. Whereas we love our athletics so much that we've put through hell.
This wasn't like a overnight thing either. This wasn't like everybody just like went to sleep and didn't vote on this or whatever. This was a campaign by UTSA and the athletics department, who sat like Jeff Traylor out in the quad or whatever UTSA calls their like area that students commingle.
The interstate. They put him next to the interstate.
They put him on I-35 and the mall across the street from their school. And they talked about this athletic service fee and like what it would do for the university, different projects that they want to tackle, different things that they want to attempt to do with the increase in funding. And it still fucking failed. So, I mean, you think about like how many programs the university, Texas State, or any other university pushes. Like Kelly's Run to R1 campaign. It's very similar to that.
But the difference is that's going to work. That's the difference. It's that like what, and this is a good thing because we can transition now to bowl games. Because we're talking, I mean, every week it seems like we're talking about this now that we're bowl eligible. So let's hit it one more time. Danfus had the best tweet I've seen him make, which is saying something. Where there was a fan who was asking, "Hey, the Jump In website, love it, good merch. What bowl game are you going to?" What do we have any insight? And Kelly finally was like, hey, listen, December 3rd is when we know for sure. There's still a lot of time in between. Of course, Texas State wins 8 games. It's going to be a better bowl game than if they win 6 games, of course. But he's like, leave me alone here. This is what we're making it. And I love that. We have a president who's on Twitter who's conversating back. The number one thing that my Longhorn friends say is that Chris Conte is the most accessible AD in college sports, which is true. If you tweet at Chris Conte at a Longhorn game, he will tweet right back at you from the suite, from the box. If you tweet at Kelly Danfus, he's tweeting back at you. When we just send a tweet out off the Squarin account or off one of our personal accounts, we get a like. And I'll tell you this, I know even if it's not a positive tweet, he sees it. He's out here. He's lurking. He knows what's going on. He's like Santa Claus.
He's also subscribed, I think, to Squarin' Round because he does message us from time to time and go, hey, this was what you guys said and this is what's actually happening. Not like we're wrong all the time, but just that he's participating in discourse with us. So shout out, Kelly. What's up? How's it going, man?
For sure. And I love how accessible he is. And I love that he's making this happen, man. Mm-hmm. He's making this happen.
Just $1 in a dream. Also, like that fan asking Kelly, like, what's up? Kelly serves on however many committees for the NCAA and all these like athletic conferences and stuff. I like where that guy's head at. Like this guy definitely knows what's up. Like Texas State has hosted like bowl partner people in the past at different games and stuff. I've gotten to see like the Hawaii Bowl guy roll through and see my dreams fade into darkness. We're probably not going to Hawaii.
Frisco.
We're going to Idaho.
That's where we're going.
Game? We're going to Frisco.
Huh?
We're going to Frisco.
100%. Frisco against UNT. That is my prediction.
Okay, that'd be a fun game. UNT's kind of struggled, but put together a season and us doing what we do.
And look, this is the problem with conference play, right? If you gave me a potentially Texas conference where you're playing UTSA and UNT and Sam Houston State and UTEP and all those, that'd be a great conference. That'd be a great time. But we're not going to get that. So if we get UTSA in the regular season and UNT in the postseason, you can't be mad about that. That essentially is the best conference, best overall schedule Texas State could possibly put together. Baylor at the beginning, UTSA in non-conference, UNT in a bowl game. You look back at this season, win, lose, or draw, as a great scheduled season for Texas State, and you'd have fun as a fan. I'd love it.
And we talked about it last week on our podcast, on our channel. We're on the Republic of Football, of course, this week. But what was I talking about? Scared money don't make money,
Yes.
And that's why I really don't want to play UTSA. It's like, if you really believe in this team, Jacob, put all your chips again. Fuck no, dude. They're favored to win the American now.
Nah, you're big purr, bro. You're big purr. Yeah. I'm not scared of UTSA. If Texas State plays at their best, if TJ Finley's healthy, we're good to go. We have a game plan that we can beat UTSA if we face them again. Scare money don't make money. I want UTSA in a bowl game. We're not going to get them. They're going to win their conference and play in the Cure Bowl.
They might hang another banner. They're a very good team right now.
Not much
all
longer.
Comes down to culture, right?
Not much longer. Frank Harris Jr. cannot continue to play at this level forever. He's a grown man playing against college kids. It's illegal. It's wrong. And Jeff Traylor won't be around anymore. Have fun in Starksville.
Well, you know what happened is they also have a guy from the Valley who perhaps is going to be their next guy at Lee Marburger,
Maybe.
Texas State could have used a guy from the Valley behind center, I'll tell you. A couple years ago.
Nah.
No, you don't think so?
No.
Volleyball is playing in the conference tournament this week. Very fun. I regret to inform you all, we do not have a single volleyball coverage episode this year. I've been dealing with some things over the last couple of weeks that have taken away some focus from this podcast.
I don't know, man. It's been tough. There's a lot of good photos. If you are following them on Instagram, if you're not, you should. They've got a bunch of good action photos that I've been sending to my photographer friends, our friend of the pod, Kate Connor. I've sent a couple to her, and I was like, damn, these are really good photos, because I don't remember. It's weird. Texas State has people come in and out when it comes to the social media and like the technology departments, especially when it comes to like sports stuff. It's just like a revolving door, so you don't know who's taking the photos anymore. But the photos this year have been really good when it comes to the action shots.
They're really good, dude. And, we unfortunately, our boy Alex is not with the program anymore, but you could tell that they were building something very cool. And I've gotten really close with a few of those guys, Kyle and Kirby out there, and I talk to them every week. And they're just so dedicated to their crafts. Like, if you think about it, these guys are not making millions of dollars out there. They just love what they do, and that they pour everything into it. It's so cool to see that level of investment in people. I'm not saying that never existed when we were losing, but it was a little bit different. The atmosphere there last year. Yeah, last year, right? Yeah.
No, and anybody you talk to, and look, you don't want to talk ill of the dead, but Larry Tice is dead to all of us. So Don has done a great job of boosting morale in that building. It feels like a completely different Texas State just athletic department. You think about the difference between like just text messages I get from people who work there, the DMs we get from people that work there, the coaching staffs have been a lot more friendly to us versus years past. Now, I don't know, maybe that's us being propaganda to people now. Maybe that's us just being like homers, but I really, truly do not think that my coverage has changed all that much. The tone has been very consistent from this side. When you're good, we love you. When you stink, we're going to tell you you stink. So the facts are that I think that there's just a lighter mood over there, and that is now translated to us having a better relationship too. So I'm happy about that.
And I think the way to approach this too, like, because we did this in college, we're not new to this, we're true to this, but we always were kind of homers first. Like, we are optimistic at the beginning of the season. Who isn't, right?
Fan analyst. We analyze our team, and we're damn good at it. I think we're really good.
I agree. I have to tell you. And you know what? The people in Thailand, the people in Colombia.
#1 international Tech State podcast. Want to thank you guys, ni hao, to our friends in the East who are just absolutely loving some Square Round Pod.
As seen in Dave Campbell's Texas football's preview for the magazine, or basketball magazine.
Shout out Ish, fellow Bobcat.
We have anything else to talk about?
Basketballs look good. Both sides. I kind of was expecting a little bit more out of Self these early in the season. Good news, she's working herself into form. Bad news, I think she started like 2-11 to start that first game. But according to the coaching staff over there and according to everything I've seen, this is just the beginning. They feel pretty good. I think right now they're like, 5-0?
Yeah.
Between the two schools or between the two teams? I don't think they've lost a game yet.
We play UTSA on Friday. So that'll be a good test for us. They're looking okay-ish. Last week, got on here, got our asses kicked to Little Rock. No longer a Sunbelt team. Don't have any respect for them.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, last night, I said we were undefeated. Scratch that. We are not undefeated.
I took 2 L's last night or the night before. I can't remember when the Spurs were in OKC. But the Spurs lost to the Thunder in dramatic fashion. They got the shit kicked out of them. And then that same night in Norman, the Bobcats got the shit kicked out of them too. So not great.
Oklahoma has our number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really do. And Kelly was there for the game too. And everybody was like, oh my God, Boomer Sooner. We love you, Kelly. Because he used to work in Norman. So
it's worked everywhere.
It hurts when you see, your current girlfriend, like speaking, reminiscing.
Gapping up with the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Throwing up
can't
the
relate.
wolves or whatever too that he does. You're like, or you seeing his Aggie ring and you're like, damn it, no. Delete those pictures off of Instagram.
He really just checked like every box. This will be a real test here. Can we get a home and home with A&M with the Kelly Danfus connection?
Ooh.
That would be, I think you got to win like 2 or 3 bowl games in a row before you get on that schedule. But I'm just asking the question.
Well, and so like when I saw that Texas State was playing Oklahoma for basketball this year, I was like, that's interesting. Because like, as I said before, I fucking hate the non-conference schedule. I think it's such a waste of time. And I think we should play better teams because we get down to the stretch in the Sun Belt and suddenly all these teams are really good because they've played a bunch of really good teams, have that experience, regardless of the freshmen on the team, regardless of the transfer portal stuff that we're doing. But I don't know. I've been a little dissatisfied, to say the least, about our non-conference schedule in recent years. But when we started playing that, I was like, is that like a Kelly move? Feels like it.
No? I think that was on the schedule for a while. But Oklahoma is not good at basketball. So that's something to kind of take.
They looked pretty fucking good the other night.
Well, yeah. But like in the grand scheme of the Big 12, like they're not one of those teams that you look at and go like, oh shit, like they're going to compete for a conference title. So
and this is November basketball, right? So like they're not playing their true 5 out there. They're not even playing their 6 guy most of the time, all the time. I mean, we have a sophomore that has like 40 minutes a game right now. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that was a bad loss and just keep it moving.
Oh yeah, we got the shit kicked out of us. And then we just kind of TJ Finley'd the situation. We were like, you know what? Let's just take our guys back. Let's take back Texas and move on to next week. That's what they fucking did in real time.
That's a long drive. And I'll tell you, that's a long drive from Norman back to San Marcos.
Mm-hmm.
Long drive.
You said that was probably just like a recruiting thing in itself because
I think
had a lot of success with guys from Oklahoma, Mason Harrell.
Yeah, I think for sure. And it's easy, especially if Texas State leaves early. They get there, the game's whatever, in the afternoon. You send your coaches to those high schools and go like, hey, have lunch with some dudes. You know what I mean? Like go show some face. Because
Mason Harrell, former Gatorade Player of the Year in Oklahoma, right? So, we literally got one of the best players in the country to come to Texas State a couple years ago. And by a couple, I mean like
that's part of it too. That's part of it too. I'll never forget when Danny Casper went on his recruiting trip to go get Mason Harrell. Did I ever tell you that story, Jacob?
Yeah, and you were like, Danny told me he's trying to recruit like a 5'7" guy from Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. We were on the air on Bobcat Radio on KTSW, and we were like, so what's the story? Well, I can't really say too much, but there's the Gatorade Player of the Year who might be coming to Texas State. And we're like, all right, well, then we look it up and we're like, 5'7". I'm like, what the hell's Casper doing? Like, what are we doing here?
We didn't know what he was cooking at the time.
I did not know what he was cooking at the time. Mason Harrell turned into one of the best players in Texas State history. And that's one thing Danny Casper has on me is scouting. Race relations, I think I beat him.
Oh, yeah. It sucks the way that things worked out for him. By the way, if you read Dave Campbell's Texas Football, I talked about this. Coach Johnson actually addresses it. This is the first year that he has not had any players associated with Danny Casper, recruited by Danny Casper, or coaching staff that played, or I shouldn't say play, I guess worked under Danny Casper.
Danny Casper,
yeah. So this is really a big page-turning year for Texas State as a program. And I think a lot of people want to see us do more work on like the recruiting end, because they've seen the success that football has, right? Like Southern Miss has a guy who's like 7 feet tall. Like we could easily become a very good, crazy basketball school, I think.
The recruiting that the football team did essentially was like, hey, every Power 5 player who doesn't like their coach, come on down. Yeah. And we put them in a melting pot and it worked out. Like, come on, man. What are we talking about here?
But like, it is how much is that is based on luck too, right? Because every once in a while you'll read these headlines in like college football, whatever, right? Dave Campbell's cover guys when guys get DUIs or whatever. But like sometimes there's a shithead that comes into the portal and kind of fucks things up for your team, and you're like, dang, this guy was supposed to be good. Look at his stats he put up in, I don't know, for example, OSU or somewhere, and now he's just in San Marcos being a dickhead, you know? But that has not happened.
Hasn't happened. That has not happened. They've done a good job of doing like background checks on some of these guys, like character background checks.
Background checks in.
Yeah. So I mean, we haven't had any of those problems. But to say for the basketball program we want to recruit, I don't want that. I want dudes in cafeterias. I want dudes in AAU tournaments. I want dudes like go and recruit freshmen and bringing those guys on campus, because what Texas State women's basketball did, to just put a nice little bow on it, is they had their most senior class, I think, ever, because they had all those COVID seniors graduate. So they kind of had to supplement it with transfer students because they don't have a ton of freshmen. Like, you can't bring 10 new freshmen on campus. That's just not, you don't have enough scholarships for it. So they had to supplement it with transfer portal players, and it worked out. You know, I think what Coach Z is trying to do is continue to just add freshmen in every year, grow them, mature them, build them up. But also bring in a couple sophomores and juniors and grad transfers to kind of build out the roster. And I think that's a good way to build it out, especially on the women's side of things.
That's where I guess I kind of want to end things also on a basketball note. You were talking about AAU, recruiting true freshmen, building a culture. That is where my guy, Coach Johnson, shines. As a former AAU guy, he was one of the best in the country, ended up going through the college pipeline, mentoring, he's got a bunch of stuff under his belt that like makes him prime time to do this shit. And, it's evident in his recruiting, the guys that we have. I wish we could have kept Nate Martin. Now he's with Marshall. That one's going to really hurt. He's going to be great this year. He's going to be one of the best in the country. I put it in the damn DCTF thing. So that kind of sucks because that was like homegrown talent. But you look just down the street, we were able to keep Caden Gums from San Marcos High. So, pretty good. And he was very good on a very good San Marcos team.
I don't know. I don't care enough about the San Marcos High School. I've always been kind of like anti-San Marcos High, but we'll see.
You called a lot of those games, man.
I did, and I didn't enjoy it.
You're like a bona fide rattler. I'm sure if we looked hard enough, there's like you in purple polo pictures.
No. I never rocked the purple. Never rocked the purple. TCU purple and white are the only TCU only purple I'd wear.
That sucks, especially after last week. Also, right, I've said we haven't really have the true starting five in rotation. Colton Benson's been out. Christian Turner, who I think is going to be one of the best guys on the team this year, was out. I saw them all on the square about 2 months ago. Easily the drippiest team I've ever seen out in recent memory. So if nothing else, at least we got that going for us.
Last of the standings, first on the runway.
Yes, sir.
It's awful.
Sweet. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking vices.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.